Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Leaving the Farm right here on Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. We are a listener-supported radio station where if you'd like to donate, please visit us at www.freedomslips.com and click on our listener support pages. Every little bit helps. This week has been very, very interesting. So we've been dealing with the insurance. The judgment was certified last week. And, of course, through the United States Incorporated representation. And so this week we had tons of FBI. And, they're still trying to see if there's anything they can do. If they can garner me, if they can garner whoever. And that snake in the garden just doesn't quit. And so we've been seeing all of these delegates. Remember that in Revelation, the dragon delegates its authority to another, and it's the other that takes them down. Well, then, the last few days, there's been a judge in my Skype. And he's been calling and calling and calling and calling. And this guy's not just any municipal judge. This guy's a developer. One who would benefit from being a developer in his own bank at the same time. Banking on human beings. Banking human beings. Negotiating human beings. And, he's begging to be put into my classes. And of course, I declined. I'm not going to subjugate my students or any other to a banker, an attorney. When I went to him and I approached him, and I said, "How long have you been an attorney?" "Oh, no, I'm not an attorney. I'm in heating and air conditioning, developing, blah, blah, blah." No, a turn means to pay homage to another Lord God or landlord. And your landlord is money. It's the action of Baal. Baalism, stemming from the demigod Marduk. You have another father. You are an attorney. And it doesn't matter if you carry a bar card or any other. And that was the interesting thing about the bond, the bishop bond, if you will. There's a bounty on attorneys in the amount of 250,000 Federal Reserve notes. And, of course, the reason behind that is that it's blood money. It can't be put back into the Treasury if it comes out of the International Monetary Fund. And it's identical, absolutely identical to what you did to Jesus and to Judas. And there is no mercy here. There is absolutely no mercy here. And in this, you will spend your time on the cross. You will see a life of torture and condemnation, death, civil death. And you will be praying for your physical body to leave this earth. And our law enforcement will not allow it. You will be put into institutionalized states as per the directives of the United Nations, as per the directives of the United States Incorporated, as to the function of the game. That is your reward for your works and actions. It was just funny today when I denied him being placed into one of my classrooms. He says, let me go get it real quick off of Skype because it was the most profound statement invoking, entitlement or defense of a title. And I said, I'm busy. I'm rendering video, teaching a class, and getting ready for the show tonight. How long were you a municipal judge? He says, quote, didn't get to serve due to conflict of conscience. How do I get into class? Conflict of conscience. If your conscience is different than mine, you are my adversary. And you're evidencing such at the time when you are remarking or stating that you have a conflict of conscience and invoking my, quote, moral obligation as a snake in the grass. I owe you absolutely nothing. And I'll tell you something else. Honor is a state that is not depraved and or bankrupt. Calling you your honor is not in my vocabulary, as you are absolutely, without a doubt, upon the evidence, depraved and bankrupt. So shall you find yourself in civil death the rest of your existence on this planet. And going into that, we'll get into some news headlines from today. Very, very profound. Within 2 hours in Pennsylvania today, we were watching as 3 different counties, 3 different cities, law enforcement officials are being taken into the system. And one of them is through his child, the children. And Jesus also spoke about that, of course. And maintain that I will kill your children. I will remove them from the ability to harm humanity. Whatever you have created of your hand will be removed from ability to harm. I'll get right into it. I think this is my favorite. Cleveland.com. New charges filed against former Bedford Municipal Judge Harry Jacob III. Cleveland, Ohio. Bedford Heights Municipal Judge Harry Jacob III, indicted last year on bribery and prostitution-related charges, is facing new accusations that he tampered with evidence and records in that case. And you thought you were done in the life of hell. Absolutely not. Welcome to the Exchequer, the lower chambers. From weau.com, Wisconsin, Madison, Wisconsin. A former attorney accused of forging a client's signature on a check and depositing it now faces criminal charges. On Wednesday, prosecutors filed a criminal complaint in the case against William Lamb, House Suite 53 of Menominee. Investigators say Lamb represented a man in a personal injury case and received his client's settlement check for $10,500 in April of 2008. He's accused of depositing it to his own personal account. The client didn't find out about the money until 2012 when he contacted his insurance company. Lamb is scheduled to appear in Dunn County Court on April 15th. For everybody else out there watching these presentations, when the insurance pays out, it does that at the inception of the case. Your attorney solidifies the judgment for or against you, which is usually against you, and they deposit those monies into what is known as IOLTA trust accounts, or the interest on lawyers' trust accounts. So they're garnering these tax-free, quote, donations on your back based on your productivity, and they're running with the insurance on this. And you can delve into Leaving the Pfarm. In December, I did an interview with Michael 2 times to get his whole entire story out. He was, to make a long story short, he was squeezed for over $1 million through his attorney. and throughout the divorce case, and then a settlement case for injury and everything else. And then the bottom line was, of course, the attorney said in the end that he was going to retire now. Of course he is. If you can soak clients for $1 million each, you're pretty rich bank there, or law firm. J.P. Morgan is a law firm. Jeffrey Levine is a law firm. When they're promoting war in any other country, these bankers, these law firms are going into that country and setting up shop. The International Bar Association. Constitutional theory. These are attorneys going into Crimea. These are attorneys entering into Confederate states with the Russian Federation. And you can find all of the members on the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, members, quotas, everything you ever wanted to know about banking and human trafficking. It's written right there. From LancasterOnline.com, Southeast Pennsylvania police officer charged with DUI hit and run. Upper Darby, Pennsylvania police officer in a Philadelphia suburb has been arrested and charged with drunken driving in connection with a hit and run accident earlier this week. Authorities allege that 43-year-old William Tobin struck a car in Maple Newton Township on Tuesday night and kept going. Police say the driver of the vehicle that was hit chased down the car and called police. Upper Darby police confirmed Tobin's employment, but said he has been out of work for several months after getting injured in the line of duty. He's a 19-year-old veteran of the force. Maple Newton Township authorities are handling the investigation. Now, when they give you a sob story like this, he was injured in the line of duty, don't go too hard on him. Come on, he hit another car. He didn't give a crap if he harmed a human and took off. And the only reason that he's in the chute is that that human being chased him down. He had absolutely no moral intentions, no ethical intentions or otherwise, to promote the well-being of a human being, as is the attorney and psychopathic cop. From abclocal.go.com, retired mounted police officer charged with assaulting teen, Philadelphia, March 6th. A retired Philadelphia mounted police officer has been arrested and charged with sexually assaulting a teenage girl. Police say 75-year-old Walter Sass of Roxborough had a 2.5-year sexual relationship with the girl beginning when she was 15. She's now 17 years old. The teenager recently told a friend and her parents about the alleged relationship, and they contacted police. The victim rode horses at the courtesy stables at 901 Cathedral Road in Andorra, where Sass worked. Eventually, she also started working at the stables, and that's when the sexual contact began, according to investigators. So he just had a good time grooming her. This is grooming behavior of a pedophile cop. Let that sink in. Sass retired from the force in 1991 after 20 years with the department. His last assignment was with the Philadelphia Police Department's Mounted Patrol Unit. He was arrested Wednesday and charged with sexual assault and related crimes. Bail was set at $50,000. He posted 10% and was released. His next court date is March 25th in family court. Why is this in family court and not a criminal setting? You tell me who knows who. From WGAL.com, son of West Hampfield Township police officer charged as adult in home invasion. This is what they do. For you to require the use of law enforcement, you have to be burglarized, robbed, raped, molested, tortured in some way. This is called drumming up business prior to 2013. 2 intruders tied up a man, but he broke free and stabbed them. Lancaster, Pennsylvania. The son of a West Hempfield police officer will now be charged as an adult in a home invasion from over the weekend. 17-year-old Devin Gardale faces several felony charges. Police say he and 18-year-old Luke Carpathios barged into a home on Chinchilla Avenue in West Hempfield Township, claiming to be police. Let me repeat that. This is a cop's son. And when he broke down the door and he saw human beings there, he tried to back out of it. Normally, they hit when you're not at home, because what do you do when you go on vacation? You call the local police department and tell them to make sure there's more patrols in your area because you're going to be gone. Hello. Now, just for your information, who owns the local locksmith? Normally, it's a sheriff or a police chief. Investigators say they tied up a man who lived there, but he broke free and stabbed Gardale and Carpathios. Both are out of the hospital and had their first court appearance Thursday. They were released to their parents and will have to wear electronic monitoring devices. No. Get rid of them. And get rid of their parents that raised them. Their next court appearance is scheduled for next week. According to court documents, the two suspects entered the home shortly after 8 p.m. on Sunday, March 2nd. Their target was 21-year-old Timothy Kelly, who lives at the home with his 69-year-old grandmother. A 69-year-old grandmother that would have been preyed on by the cops if Timothy Kelly had been killed. Let that sink in. A co-worker of Kelly's was also inside the home during the incident. When the grandmother answered a knock at the door, two people pushed their way inside, knocking her walker to the floor. These are psychopaths preying on your grandmothers. The intruders were wearing desert camouflage outfits, including hats and bandanas over their faces. They yelled they were law enforcement conducting a raid. Both displayed guns and flashlights. The two men instructed Kelly's friend and a grandmother to stay in the living room. They then entered Kelly's bedroom and told him to get on the ground. While one placed plastic zip ties on the victim's wrists, the other searched through a dresser and yelled, "Where's the stuff?" Kelly says he soon realized that they were not officers and believed they were looking for drugs. He was able to break free from the ties. Kelly says he stood up and yelled to the other victims that the intruders were not police and to get help. Now, they had them stymied, right? They thought the cops were doing a raid, so Grandma and the other guy were just sitting there. No more sitting there. Now, you know each other. You know your coworker. You know your grandmother. You know your brother. You know your sister. You know your mother and your father. And if the cops are saying, "Hey, look, he's a bad guy," don't you dare believe it, because you know them. You know them. And this is what it's all about. Pitting and polarizing you from each other. And if you allow this to occur, Grandma could have been killed that day. Don't let this happen anymore. Don't accept these things, these stories, these presentations, these god-awful things that are occurring right in front of your eyes. No more consenting, no more patronizing these things. Enough is enough. These things are just absolutely horrifying. Horrifying to watch and to witness over and over and over again, while sheeple citizens still maintain that patriotism, calling it their father. From NJ.com, judge charged with voter fraud for improper voting in Middlesex County, prosecutor says. get this. We were talking about the judge developer earlier. In Woodbridge, quote, a judge who resigned last week after allegations of improper voting has been charged with 2 counts of voter fraud, according to the Middlesex County Prosecutor's Office. Spencer Robbins, 62, of Chatham, surrendered today at the Middlesex County Courthouse in New Brunswick, where he was served with a 2-count complaint charging him with the 3rd-degree offenses. Oops. Sorry about that, folks. I got an advertisement that pops up. Middlesex County Acting Prosecutor Andrew C. Carey said Robbins casted votes during 2 elections in Woodbridge, where he has a law office, rather than in Chatham, where he lived. Robbins was released on his own recognizances pending further court action, the prosecutor said. The municipal judge was charged following an investigation by the Middlesex County Prosecutor's Office, which last week notified Spencer and the courts that charges would be filed. The charges were filed after a prosecutor's office investigator determined that Robbins was a resident of Chatham when he voted in Woodbridge school election on April 20th, 2010, and in a general election in Woodbridge on November 2nd, 2010. Last year, the Middlesex County Election Board determined that the judge was improperly voting from his office in Woodbridge while living with his family in Chatham. Spencer served in Woodbridge, Sayreville, and South Plainfield. Spencer resigned his municipal judgeships during the investigation. Well, there's more to these things. This guy's a developer. He needs more of those electoral college votes, allowing him to appropriate human beings through the Appropriation Commission. He gives them leeway and directs. From the state.com, City of Columbia police officer arrested for criminal domestic violence. No print. I'll come back to that one. From the WashingtonPost.com, top D.C. judge allegedly steered contract to partner's husband and lied to investigators. Here's more along the lines of what happened with the last one. The district's chief administrative law judge allegedly steered a $43,000 city contract to the husband of a business partner. That's what they do. He didn't do anything outside of his administrative capacity under 28 U.S.C. subsection 453. His oath to pay off congressional bankruptcy and discharge his duties. That's what that means. This judge is a pencil in the hand of the United Nations. He is a judge over one nation. Each county, each corporation is defined as a foreign state, a nation, in 28 U.S.C. subsection 1603. 28 U.S.C. or United States Code is the Judiciary Act stemming from the 1789 Judiciary Act, maintaining Article 12 of the Articles of Confederation, whereby human beings were charged and pledged to pay off or discharge congressional bankrupt states. Now, are you seeing this corporation nation, which I am praying that everybody has listened to Clint Richardson recently, listened to the archives, and we've got those up on These Changing Times and No Borders daily now. Tonight I am late, of course, because I've got this show. I will fix that and run them at 10, but I mean, these things are, this is the bottom line. This is when you have no other option than to choose your side. No more waiting around for some judge to sick a cop on you. No more waiting around for a judge to stick a doctor on you to kill you for the judge. No more waiting around for the judge to stick CPS on you, for the judge to stick adult protection on you, for the judge to beat your head in, for the attorneys to laugh all the way to the bank. This is it, folks. It's time to stand or be resurrected rather than laying down, which is the etymology, the literal translation of what law is. It means to lay down. You are subjugated by it. Back to the state.com. City of Columbia police officer arrested for criminal domestic violence. Richland County, South Carolina. City of Columbia police officer has been arrested and charged with criminal domestic violence. Richland County Sheriff Leon Lott said deputies responded to an assault call at 2438 Willow Oak Drive around 1 a.m. Wednesday. According to police, Jason Green, 32, and his wife were involved in a verbal altercation when Green grabbed her by the throat and shoved her. Sheriff Lott said officers discovered Green as a City of Columbia police officer while investigating. Green was arrested and taken to Alvin C. Glenn Detention Center. City of Columbia Police Department spokeswoman Jennifer Timmons said Green has been suspended without pay administratively. I want to see more. I want to see corporate counsel, which has been happening today. Not as fast as we want it. Now, back in 2012, I was covering the Dewey LaBeouf bankruptcy, and at that time we were talking about it. Well, it's just a fraud. That was the largest law firm in the world, and it filed for bankruptcy back in 2012. And Viola, Bloomberg.com today. Ex-Dewey executives charged in fraud that destroyed firm. 3 former executives at Dewey and LaBeouf LLP, once the number 3 legal advisors to banks handling merger deals, were charged with a blatant $200 million fraud that spurred the largest law firm bankruptcy in history. Now, of course, when they file for bankruptcy, it goes under the congressional state, and we get to go in and play this game. The 3, including the chairman, executive director, and chief financial officer, were accused of using accounting gimmicks similar to those that sent top executives at WorldCom, which is the same bank as this law firm, and Tyco International Ltd., which is the same bank as this law firm, to prison a decade ago. Authorities cited emails in which the men referred to fake income, cooking the books, and accounting tricks. Which is not true. I mean, they're not stupid attorneys. Come on, they're bankers. But whatever you need to drum up to take them down, I'm good with that. From firstcoastnews.com, FDLE correctional officer and son arrested. Jacksonville, Florida. Florida Department of Law Enforcement correctional officer and his son have been arrested for selling prescription pills out of their home. According to FDL press release, 45-year-old Clayton Whitley II worked at Baker Correctional Institution. He and his son, 22-year-old Clayton Whitley III, were arrested at their Jacksonville home this morning. Now, we'll have further updates later, folks. This one just came out was earlier today, about 1 a.m., and no further updates are available at this time. But listening on Saturday, and of course, Wednesday with the Bo and Rocko Show every Wednesday night at 10 to 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Studio A. And so you can get those updates. Rocko sent me some more communication today. Last night, having been found as sad happen chance on the show, of course, we're working on it. It's profound what these what the insurance is doing. I don't care anymore about judges or working with law enforcement. I don't have to care. Judgment is already there, and it's with the insurance. And you can listen to that explained in further detail on the Bo and Rocko Show archives that you can find on the YouTube channel for Revolution Radio. From the blogs at seattletimes.com, Seattle attorney returns from Taiwan to face felony charges. A Seattle attorney fled to Taiwan in December of 2013 before being charged with 5 felonies related to insurance settlement theft, was arrested at Seattle-Tacoma International Airport Tuesday evening. Edward Joseph Callow, 39, was charged on December 12, 2013 with 5 felonies involving the misappropriation, I like how they diminish the crime, of funds intended for Callow's client, who was permanently disabled after a car accident. Before he was charged, Callow flew to Taiwan, according to Washington State Office of the Insurance Commissioner. Detectives worked with federal agencies to locate Callow in Taiwan, and local law enforcement notified Callow he had to leave the country. Wow, that was interesting, because he said, "Run! Run, young attorney, run!" He was arrested at the airport Tuesday and booked in King County Jail on a $500,000 bond. $500,000 bond. In 2010, Nationwide paid Callow's client $25,000 advance and a $500,000 settlement, but the client received just $165,000 of that amount, according to court documents. Callow allegedly kept the $25,000 advance and altered documents to show his client that Nationwide had paid a $250,000 settlement. Now, the only reason that the client could infer this was how? When the judge handed down the order for the settlement, right? So, come on. I don't want just his attorney. I want his puppet masters. I want the directors. I want the judge. Come on. We got some bankrupt states to make up for here, people. I want the judge. I want the other attorneys. I want the experts that came in to determine whether or not he was injured or brought into law. And, of course, we've got some interference by the NSA. Beautiful CIA. So we'll pause for a second and let that play out. Absolutely sick. Disgusting. Disgusting. Former Nationwide Insurance Claims Associate Faribault Rahovi, who was charged with Callow, took $135,000 of the settlement, while Callow kept the remaining money, according to court documents. So who did they roll on? The attorney? And the insurance agent? Come on, I want the judge. I want corporate counsel. I want everybody who had a hand in the destruction of this disabled man. I want everybody who helped to raise him in an institutionalized state, injured, and brought into law. BaltimoreSun.com, Baltimore police officer charged with killing girlfriend's puppy. Now, this one was covered last night on the Bo and Rocko Show as well. I'll go ahead and reiterate here as an update. A city police officer is accused of beating a Jack Russell Terrier puppy with a mop, then choking the dog and sending a picture of its dead body to its owner, his girlfriend. Montgomery County Police have charged Alex Eugene Taylor, 27, of Silver Spring, with aggravated animal cruelty and abuse or neglect of an animal. He also threatened the girl. He was terrorizing his girlfriend. He was grooming her to lay down and to tolerate abuse after she was so traumatized, receiving pictures of her dead animal, which is a common practice of law enforcement. When they were sicked upon me, one of those sick twisted bastards turned one of my dogs inside out and left her out in the woods for us to find. And thankfully that my daughter did not find her dog. That was the intent was to traumatize my children. And of course, it's common practice. Common practice. That's what cops do. Taylor's girlfriend told police she received a text from Taylor on February 26, telling her that he had killed the 7-month-old dog named Rocko after it defecated on the carpet. He then sent her a picture, according to a news release. He didn't kill the dog because it defecated on the carpet. He killed the dog to terrorize her, to send her pictures of her dead dog. This is absolute terrorism. Warfare against a human being. She told police Taylor said he was tired of cleaning up the dog's mess and that he had beaten it with a mop before throwing its body in a parking lot dumpster. Police said he later told investigators he used a mop to force Rocko from behind the dryer and then used his hands to choke the dog. So this little puppy was already in fear. It was hiding from a law enforcement officer, knowing its fate, knowing that this monster was after it, knowing what it was facing, knowing that this cop was torturing it. It tried to get out of his way. It tried to hide. Animal services officers located and recovered the dog and performed necropsy. The dog died from an acute hemorrhage shock, likely due to blood loss from liver damage caused by blunt force trauma. The liver is not located in the neck. He didn't just strangle that dog. He tortured it to death. And then he took pleasure as a psychopath in sending photos of this sick and twisted deed to his girlfriend by which to terrorize her, subjugate her in the mind. Everybody living in this thing suffering from Stockholm Syndrome. And this is how it occurs every single day. There's nice days when you're not so abused. And there's nice days when they offer you a tax break and it makes you feel good. And there's nice days when there's a housing benefit. And there's nice days when there's another benefit implicated under the action of winning hearts and minds. It has you engaging with this thing and relying on it for your survival. That's what it does. It preys on you. And it kills you, your animals, your children. It tortures puppies for fun. Tortures puppies for fun. Sick, 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 sick. Shame be upon each and every one of you for accepting these things. Sick. How dare you? How dare you put yourself amongst us in humanity and pretend you are any type of human being? How dare you stand behind your badges and your flags and tell me that you are protecting human beings when all you do is prey on them? How dare you? From RINF.com, narcotics cop allegedly forces woman to buy him drugs and have sex with him. A San Luis Obispo police detective forced a woman to buy and sell drugs for him and forced her to have sex with him under threat of arrest. The woman and her boyfriend claim in court. Kep Holland and his friend, Jane Rowe, girlfriend, sued former San Obispo police detective Corey Pierce and the city and county of San Luis Obispo in federal court. Now let me go back to this headline. Narcotics cop allegedly forces woman to buy him drugs and have sex with him. The victim is suing him. The prosecuting attorney is not charging him. The judge is doing nothing to charge him or remove him from the ability to harm human beings. It just says he's been caught out doing those things. Now, if you don't stand up for your fellow human being, I don't know who's going to. When you don't stand up for each other, who's going to stand up for you? And make sure that these things are held accountable. These psychopaths, behind their damn badges, behind their official uniforms, they're all the same. From the Saratogan.com, Saratoga County deputy charged an FBI sting. Albany, a Saratoga County Sheriff's deputy and a president of the department's deputies union, was arrested Friday and charged in connection with a federal drug sting. This is what they do. Charles E. Fuller, 46, of Corinth, was charged with attempting to aid and abet the possession with intent to distribute 500 grams or more of cocaine. He was arrested at Saratoga County Sheriff's Office. If convicted, he faces a maximum of 40 years in prison, a mandatory minimum period of imprisonment of 5 years, and a maximum fine of $5 million. According to news released from the U.S. Attorney's Office on Thursday, members of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, with the assistance of FBI confidential source, arranged for a controlled delivery by Fuller of what was purported to be 1 kilogram of cocaine. Fuller then transported the source and the substance from Albany County to Warren County, when the source paid the deputy $4,000 in pre-recorded currency. Fuller is alleged to have engaged in this conduct while he was off duty. Like that matters. Saratoga County Sheriff Michael H. Zerlo said the charges against Fuller undermine the integrity of the hardworking men and women of the Saratoga County Sheriff's Office and the local drug cartel. Same thing. That's what cartel means. Little charter. It's entered into a charter between two states. International commerce. County this and county that. Doesn't matter. That's international commerce, interstate trade. Zerler said Fuller has worked for the sheriff's office for 24 years, 14 as a desk officer. The deputy has spent the last 10 years on the road patrol. Zerlo would not comment on whether Fuller had faced prior disciplinary action and said the deputy had been suspended without pay. Zerlo said Fuller's arrest at the sheriff's office Friday was without incident. Quote, "We're disappointed, but we've got a great staff and we'll get through this." Yeah. That guy's a fall guy. Even in the picture, it shows him drunk. His eyes are all red and glossy, and he's got a nice little drink in his hand, and it just paints him as really bad. But there's got to be a fall guy for the local drug cartel, or you might realize that that's a local drug cartel. If you ever realize that, oh boy, would you be mad. Would you be mad if you realized what was written in their book and you were able to open it? Man, would you be mad? Would you be mad if you realized that Satan was the one in the black dress holding the gavel down at the local county bank or courthouse? Boy, would you be mad. Would you be mad if you realized that principal means principal agent, and they have one in every school in the United States Incorporated, otherwise known as Hitler Youth Camps? Boy, would you be mad. Would you be upset if you found out all these things were made evident to you, irritate you, tick you off? Maybe at that point your wrath would be made known or something. From PackAlertPress.com, I really like this documentary this week. I urge everybody to go there. Kids for Cash scheme exposes horrors of for-profit prisons. By Joe Wright. The fact that the United States leads the world in prison population is becoming common knowledge. Somewhat lesser known is the direct connection between corporate prisons and incarceration rates. There's no starker example of this than Louisiana, which leads the world in for-profit prisons and just coincidentally happens to have the world's highest prison population per capita. The U.S. prison business has become the essence of predatory corporatism. It privatizes profits and socializes losses. Risk management. The combination has led to a situation where correctional facilities have very little incentive to correct the behavior of those who reside within their walls. Well, they don't need to. I'll talk about that in a short amount of time, probably after the break. But every incentive to ensure that new bodies arrive as fast as possible and keep them in a state of indentured servitude. This is even happening with the return of debtors' prisons in some states, once thought to be intelligently left behind as a brutal chapter of medieval Europe or Victorian England. However, something even worse has taken place in the area of so-called juvenile delinquency. Luzerne County, Pennsylvania Judge Mark Ciavarella, Jr. exposed the dark underbelly of a predatory system with his role in what has come to be known as the Cash for Kids, and Ciavarella, thankfully, was caught and sentenced to 28 years in prison for taking more than $2 million in bribes from the builders of 2 detention centers. The centers were literally built and filled off of the incarceration of 3,000 juveniles. How did this county develop itself? It was stealing your children. Now, that judge is the only one that has ever been held accountable, him and another judge, for trafficking in children. I haven't seen any charges for the builder of the detention centers. I haven't seen charges against the psychiatrist who diagnosed these children. One of these babies committed suicide after he was put through this shit. Pardon my language. What are we doing here? Tolerating this stuff. I want you to march your little butts to Luzerne County, Pennsylvania, and I want you to shut it down. I want CPS taken out. I want corporate counsel taken out. I want every single psychiatrist removed from the face of the planet. Done. Gone. These are the things that are preying on your babies. Criminalizing them and making them feel bad. Now, everybody knows about Rocko being in jail right now. Rocko was a child of this system. They killed his mother so they could get him into juvenile justice. They traumatized him at an early age so they could get him through the system. They have raised him from start to finish, cradle to grave, and this is all brought to you on evidence and on a continuing basis as he's sitting in McHenry County Jail because the bankers want their money. 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 And these bankers will pay agents, female psychopaths, effeminate males to go after you, target you, get your money. This is a scheme of redistribution. This is what makes the world go around. This is international commerce, interstate commerce, commerce and navigation, the debenture participation program. This is how it goes around. This is what it does. It doesn't do anything else. It is not there to protect you. This is a snake in the garden. This is how it takes the garden. You are calling this thing your father while it rips your children off of you, kills them, rapes them, sends them, sells them to each other, trafficking in men, women, and children. This is not some pretty thing called a court. This is not some pretty thing called justice. This is absolute genocide, human trafficking against the human race, implicated by psychopathy. They are not the evolved species. They do not have a frontal lobe. You are a number on a spreadsheet. You are an object put upon their garden to dress it up. You are a thing, a resident, a thing, a product. You are nothing more in their eyes. And everybody can go read that. I'm not going to read the rest of it, otherwise I'm just going to blow a gasket here. Kids for Cash scheme exposes horrors of for-profit prisons documentary. You can find that on packalertpress.com. From abclocalgo.com, KGO, only on 7, mental health counselor faces trafficking charges. San Jose, California, a public youth counselor in San Jose is now under federal indictment for sex trafficking. A man whose job is to help teenagers is accused of taking advantage of them in a ruthless way. This is what they do. Police say he and his partner in crime used his position to lure teenagers out on the streets to work as prostitutes. This started out as San Jose police investigation, but as they gathered more evidence, they turned it over to FBI. No, he's just a fall guy. They want to say, oh, those two are corrupt. Not we are corrupt. They're agents. They're going to take a couple of their agents out, appease the masses. They're going to please you in your mind and make you feel all comfortable. Oh, they're protecting us. That's their function. This is what they do. Go back to the Cash for Kids scandal. No psychiatrist was charged for trafficking those babies in that case. No developer, no corporate interests, no attorneys. Come on. I want them, and I want them now. I want all of their heads on a silver platter, and I want every one of them in Gitmo. We got lots of room for them. I want them waterboarded. From CNN.com, attorney Georgia principal posts $50,000 bond after arrest in child sex sting. Georgia authorities have arrested 14 people they accuse of traveling with the intent to have sex with children, including a suburban Atlanta elementary school principal. You're putting your innocent children in elementary school. This means they're younger than 5th grade. In these Hitler youth camps so they can be preyed on by principal agents and co-conspirators. This is what the United Nations does, county to county, united in arms, united in the Confederate Perpetual Union. This is what they do. This is another show. Let's take out a principal and call him corrupt or call him a pedophile. Don't let's take down the whole system doing the same thing. From RT.com, Florida man gets lawyers home after attorneys leave him to rot in jail. What a nice presentation. A Florida man has found himself living in the 3-bedroom home of his former attorney after a federal judge said that the 2 lawyers who represented him in a 2008 drug case demonstrated the most outrageous conduct he'd ever seen. Now, Patrick Colton's new attorney, Paul Petrucci, tells Florida's Sun Sentinel newspaper that his client's former counsel is, quote, the reason people hate lawyers. This is their function. Good for you. Keep taking their homes. It is foreclosure time. Any other criminal gets nailed for a crime, they go through civil forfeiture. Foreclose on them. And this is going to go down with or without you. For all of the law enforcement who wants to work for corporate attorneys, it is with or without you. It is already with or without you. I don't care. And we'll be right back, folks, after the break. Stick around. Hi, and welcome back to the second hour of Leaving the Farm right here on Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, where information never sleeps. We are a listener-supported radio station, and if you'd like to donate, please visit us at www.freedomslips.com and click on our support pages. And a cat muzzle. Oh, he says, hi, everybody. So, with the certification of the judgment against their insurance, that's actually a claim. When you come into court on a complaint, you're asking another co-plaintiff to come right in there with you. And that's why Jesus referenced in 1 Corinthians 6, Don't go there. Don't go into their courts. It's only human trafficking. You can only fornicate by giving your body to the other Lord. By giving your body to the Lord God, you are fornicating. Quote, fornication is not for the body, but for the Lord, and the Lord for the body. Again, 1 Corinthians 6. And it explains in detail in there what happens when you go into court. They are going to trick you out. They are going to use your body. They're going to take money for this. And Bo went into that last night as well on the Bo and Rocko Show right here on Revolution Radio. And it was so profound to hear him in his word speaking these things as Jesus intended, as Jesus wrote, as it was written for us to know them by their works and to evidence this abhorrent behavior contrary, absolutely against, opposed to human being and life on this planet, humanity itself, which is a definition of Satan. I think I've got a caller on the line. Caller, are you there?
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
How are you?
Great. I'm so pissed off tonight. It's been a hell of a week, and all of these things are just, they're irritating me, agent after agent. Even during the show here, the municipal judge was trying to call me on Skype, and it's just an irritant. It's absolutely irritating. But the good part is that their handlers have my fee schedules. So anybody incorporated into the United Nations, the United States, Confederacy in Action, they already have my fee schedule. Your handlers already have it. Notice to principal is notice to agent. So every time you advertise to me and alter my heading, you are responsible for those things. If not the full amount, the transgressor fees as stated on my fee schedule, which is your weight in gold. So either you're going to stop advertising to me and attempting this coercion and these things that only seducers do, as written about in the Bible. They seduce and they apply and they coerce and they speak nice words while they're vilifying us in the same breath. It's absolutely disgusting, but I really enjoy my fee schedule. Thank you for that, Bo.
Well, the story about the prosecuting attorney, that's a story that's come full circle here with me. We saw it in True Freeman 317's YouTube video yesterday. Tyrone out of Indianapolis, he's still pleading under code and statute and stuff, which I don't agree with, but I mean, he does expose a lot of the things that are going on that we've all experienced here, and I've experienced it with the prosecuting attorney. So we laid down the indictment. It's all written out. All the evidence was given to this. There's not even a word for how evil these people are, because all the evidence is in front of them. All they got to do is pick up the indictment. Okay, the same information was given to the sheriff, Chris Gorick, and neither Dvorak or Grisgaric would pick up these indictments. They're still sitting out there. Okay, and the same thing happened as evidenced by this YouTuber I know. And then you were talking about that story last hour. These prosecuting attorneys are there to prosecute you. They're not, until recently here now, they're going to have to step up their game or change their tactics here a little bit, because they are going to be in the shoot here,
right?
Real quick.
The policy changed.
So, right, with the agreed entry at Northern Holding Corporation about the surety being the fiction, not us, not presumed to be us,
and certifying the judgment. Now, the insurance policy has changed.
But what I was going to say about that, though, is just to hammer this home, just so you people out there get it. The prosecuting attorney is going to thumb your nose at no matter what nice words he gives you as you walk into his office and hand him a box full of evidence. You know, he's going to find a nice circular filing cabinet to put that in and go about his business prosecuting you, the plebeian.
Absolutely.
Because he's part of the good old boys. He's got to take care of them good old boys. No, he's not going to go against no judge or another attorney or a cop. Oh, no. They're all just hunky-dory in their good old boy club.
Until now. When we went up against their insurance, that was enough. That was the end game. Throughout my entire walk, we have been evidencing what they do, who they do it to, why they do it, you know, all of these things. And we had to, and we had no other option than to give them knowledge. When we give them knowledge, that, hey, look, you're human trafficking. Hey, look, you're perpetrating genocide. Hey, look, you're a privateer. When you give them this knowledge, a human being says, oh my goodness, what have I done? And they walk away from that. Now, a psychopath doesn't do that. A psychopath says, oh, ha, 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 but I'm making money. I'm making so much money. I'm going to stay in this and I'm going to milk it for all it's worth. And that's what we evidenced for the insurance company, for the insurance corporations, for the absolute, was that car crash, without a question, without a doubt, who caused the accident, who did it, why they did it, that it was done with intent. And this was all laid out on the evidence. And it continues to occur as they hold a sovereign state within the lower chambers of the exchequer, which is hell, maintained by the U.S. Marshals, the trustee over its own bankruptcy, to discharge or pay off congressional bankruptcy, which is what the game is. 1777, somebody came in and, or no, 1776, sorry, they came in and they said, oh my gosh, you guys are human trafficking. You guys can't be perpetrating piracy and privateering here. And Congress came in and maintained the Articles of Confederation and said, look, right here it says it's legal for us to human traffic. And we evidenced the same thing last year with Philip Simon. He came in on a court order and said, hey, there's a proper way and an improper way of human trafficking. I don't find that Northern Holdings is improperly human trafficking human beings. And admitted on court record, on the evidence, that indeed that is the only function of a judge, is to facilitate
a person with a bar card calling themselves and being entitled to judge.
Right, under the Judiciary Act.
Doesn't make them a judge. There's not any judges, period, in this legal conundrum they've created.
Absolutely.
It's for them, by them. It's all about tricking you out.
Absolutely. And that's what the Commerce Clause was. It said, hey, you can do this. You can human traffic and whatever else. But if you're caught, you're screwed. You're absolutely 100% guaranteed to lose everything you've ever had, anything that you ever could have. It will be used for the general welfare of the United States of being. And I can guarantee you this, that with every last breath in my body, I will see you in hell for an eternity, for your crimes against humanity, for every action you have ever maintained, for every action of your agents, for every action of your delegates. Everything, start to finish, everything. You will be held accountable for every action you have ever taken against mankind.
That's all I hope for. I mean, what I want out of this at the end of the day, I want the world back on the public law, which means you don't harm human beings. You don't, stack the legal system for feminism or, in the favor of the powers that be. It's the same across the board. If you harm a human being, you are going to be held responsible and accountable under the restrictive principle of sovereign immunity.
Absolutely.
Okay, you're not going to do 12 years like that one psychopath I brought up last night, female that was involved with 3 children murders.
Absolutely. There was one that attempted this week. She attempted to kill her kids by driving into the ocean, and I want to thank the people that stopped their vehicle on their way to wherever. They didn't care about wherever they were going, and they went and pulled those babies out of the vehicle. It said the mother just walked away in the days after that. She was trying to drown her kids. The kids were screaming to passerby, please help us. Our mom's trying to kill us. Please help us. And thankfully that there were human beings there to save these children. As she just calmly got out of her van after that and just walked away. And it said she was going through a custody dispute with the father, of course. So that was Medea at it again. Medea likes to kill her kids to get back at the dad. Absolutely not. She's going to be held accountable. She's already had a psych eval. I will see her in an institutionalized state. Each and every one of these things.
Yeah, and the more I see people pushing the Carl Lentz method or, Rod Class, any of these code pleaders going in there arguing statute.
Putting on a show.
Being part of the play here, participating in their play against humanity, essentially. It just ticks me off. Carl Lentz method, a guy was describing it in this YouTube video. Yeah, go in there and tell him you're a man.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, man's a legal creation. Okay, you're under their jurisdiction. Not going to hold anybody accountable. Yeah, we can get some remedy. All right. Well, you're going to get about 0.82% at the end of the day, according to the first and second welfare theorem. These guys just tick me off anymore. They really do. And these people that think, that, they want their ego stroked, make them feel good about themselves. I'm not about that.
We're not here to stroke the ego. We're not here to enable the ego in any way. Last night, I thought that was so profound when this guy called in and he was asking you about financial crimes. Oh, somebody's hurt me. And he left his truck at this property forever. And then all of a sudden he gets a letter from the attorney that says he wants his storage fees and whatever not. These things are all just going against your brother for financial aspects. It says in the Bible clearly, forgive financial harms against you. Just move on. Don't suffer yourself to be defrauded. Don't go into their courts. And Jesus actually added on there, for shame. I am so ashamed of you for worshiping these gods, these demigods of Baal. He says, how dare you? And again, in 2 Corinthians 13, he says, this is the third time. You're driving me nuts here. This is the third time I'm coming to you. Again and again and again and again and again and again. Beating the same horse. They're killing you. They're raising you. They are taking all of your assets, Job. And the only way that they're able to do that is through you, Job, calling it your father, patronizing it, bowing down, allowing it to do these things, trusting this thing called a fiduciary, the character of a trust. It's an actor. It's an actor. In the House of Representatives, which is a marquee, a show. This war in Crimea, they have treaties with Crimea. They have treaties. They're in a confederated state with Russia.
Yeah, it's all about offsetting congressional bankruptcy, but everybody, is just parroting the mainstream media. Oh, Russia. Oh, Putin. Oh, Obama. Like it's a separate thing. These are actors in the greatest show on earth.
And they're getting you to see that there's some kind of civil war. There's no civil war until they call upon you.
They call out their troops that are, basically enlisted because they're basically trying to feed their families, most of them for the most part. They're trained to follow orders. The orders are that you were at war. It's not, it's not anything personal with them. It's just business.
No, absolutely just business. What was that one? It was a YouTube presentation called "All Wars Are Bankers' Wars." Was that Rivero?
Yeah, Mike Rivero, yep.
Well, you look at what a bank is. J.P. Morgan is a bank.
Yeah, and folks, Michael Rivera and all these other clowns out here, they don't listen to us because they don't know what a bank is. They keep thinking it's that law firm calling themselves a bank.
No. This is J.P. Morgan, the law firm, going into Croatia, going into Serbia, going into Iraq and Iran. International Bar Association, maintained and governed by the House of Delegates, who has full-on control of the American Bar Association, which is everything since 1941. Now, these attorneys, these, quote, banks, Jeffrey Leving, it goes into Ukraine. It goes into Crimea. What does it want? It wants the children. Military personnel are killing the adults so that we can make children into orphans. For the attorneys to be able to have sex with them. For the attorneys to traffic them amongst themselves in international, interstate commerce through their codes and statutes. You are allowing these things if you are patronizing this thing and calling it your father, paying taxes for it to go attack other human beings, paying taxes for its cops, its local military, to attack and plunder you. This is what you're paying for. Piracy on the high seas. France owns all the water, Versailles treaties. Spain owns all the roads, Treaty of Peace. Canada, that part of the corporation, owns all the bridges, tunnels, and turnpikes. You can see these through Texas, the Department of Transportation, which is actually Rick Perry sits on the General Council. Tricking you out. Rick Perry. Governor Pallotti there.
Oh, but we got some good Congress critters in there like, Ron Paul and Rand Paul, and they're going to save us all.
Absolutely not. They are into human trafficking. That is what government...
I was being facetious, by the way.
Absolutely.
Just to be clear.
Oh, I know your intent. You speak your word and you make it known in your evidence of your works. And these things, it's all human trafficking. Government, that word means the action of governing, driving you somewhere. Where are they driving you through fourth generation warfare? They are moving the children from the middle of our herd to the outside of the herd by incarcerating the parents, by vilifying the parents, by institutionalizing, by killing the parents. They are driving the children to the outside of the herd so that they can prey on them. This is the same thing that every other predator in biology does in a different way. They do it by document. It is an intellectual war. It is a psychological war. Fourth generation warfare. Through the media, through the public school system, through the local military force, adult protection, child protection, IRS, friend of court, the local guardian ad litem. That is a predator. These things are predators. That's what they do. This is how the game works. This is
Obama, Putin, Netanyahu, I don't care, whatever world leader, they're just there to facilitate the same. The song remains the same. They're just the top dogs of the attorney world there. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
They're the attorney. Obama's the attorney in chief.
Clergy for Congress.
Clergy. Putin's clergy. I saw a video that had gotten like over 1 million views since March 4th here about the breakdown of Ukraine and its history, okay? And they talked about Stalin's role and how, it was Stalin's fault,
Stalin was clergy.
He never once did he mention that Stalin was a clergy for Congress, okay? So here's another gatekeeper or just another parroting what he's heard from the mainstream, been indoctrinated with at the indoctrination Hitler Youth Camp. I don't like these people that don't think for themselves. And then we got millions of lemmings just listening to those kind of people, though.
Absolutely.
Millions of them.
That's what the show is there for.
And you wonder why Rocko's still in jail? Okay, because it's all these lemmings.
Sheeple that don't want to stand up. And all it takes is just standing up en masse, in unison, the United States of being, and saying, nope, get out. Get out. I don't want you to represent me. I am divesting the power that I gave you by constitutional construct. I'm no longer calling you my father, and that is what's written in 1 Corinthians 6. God raised up the Lord God, so shall he raise us up by his own power. You vested your power, your authority in a Congress, which means with transgression. You raised it up. It is time now for you to raise us up by your own power, God. Hear me now, please. Sick and twisted life. And the perversion just keeps going and going and going as these sheeple sit on their sofas and watch Family Guy and American Dad and soap operas and the nightly news and all of these presentations telling them how everything should be. Maybe we shouldn't be like Peter Griffin. Maybe he's not as bad as the guy down the street, the pedophile that keeps preying on the kiddies, right? Everything is presented as a lesser of one or more evils, and you're still taking up the same evil. You're still patronizing the same evil. A lesser of two evils is still an evil. Voting for somebody because they're not as bad as the other guy is still voting for somebody or electing somebody to protect you who's evil.
Yeah, and we talked about the doctrine of election, I mean, that mentality is abhorrent to me anymore. It's just awful. It's like, well, maybe another 4 years we can vote somebody better in there.
43 females are being killed each day by prescription medication.
And these Congress critics say, oh, we got to do something about it. In the back room meeting, they're saying, well, how can we use this to, further trick these suckers out?
35,000 males in the United States Incorporated every single year are said to be committing suicide. Right there between those two death rates only. That is not including heart attacks. It's not including all of these misdiagnoses of cancer. It's not including all of the murder by cops, murder by institutionalized states. That is 2 cities per year, human beings being wiped off of this planet. At any given moment in time, there's over 300,000 children in foster care taken through the United States Incorporated, the United Nations, into the child sex trafficking rings. They need a place to put them. So they get these psychopaths that want money to take care of children. They want money to take care of children. They give adoption subsidies to psychopaths who want to adopt children, taking money in exchange for use of children.
Yeah, and this whole thing about, the IMF coming in there to Ukraine, offering some more money, why don't they just, well, we know why, but, the IMF controls the inflation rates for all world currencies.
Right, the scarcity.
So get them hooked on it. It's like a drug pusher. Get them hooked on this credit, which is really debt, and then it's like feeding the junkie from there on, and then they can do anything they want with the inflation rate, to trick you out even further, because they got you under their thumb. They get their attorney monies in there, and then they turn on you.
Well, and the most horrifying is the aspect of when they increase the inflation rates and they make it so hard to live. Again, the children are being pushed to the edge of that herd, as mom and dad now have to be out of the home and working. And what happens? It creates a latchkey child. Well, all of a sudden, miraculously, this thing performing these miracles has a latchkey program right there waiting for you, just in case you ever have to work your ass off and be out of the home, whereby your children can be preyed on. I bet it's nice to be the owner of a corporation like that. This is absolutely deplorable. And as these Catholic priests and the Catholic diocese preys on children, you continue to tide to it. You pay it through federal funding, 501c3 programs, and it gets fined maybe $1 million. You pay that fine. You're donating to it. You're supporting it through federal incentives to take your babies off of you. You're pledging your allegiance to it by going into its churches of Baal. Courts, banks, hospitals, they're all the same holding corporations for human beings. 1864 Geneva Convention. 1929 Geneva Convention. They're foundling hospitals. They'll save you if you have a fictional government and you're an infant asking something fictional to represent you, acting as that fiction, calling yourself all different kinds of concepts like man and woman and boy and girl and mom and dad and teacher and doctor. Offices. You can call yourself offices. Heck yeah. But under the law of infants, if you're calling yourself an office, it's kind of insane, right? You require administration. You're without a government. You need to be saved and picked up as a prisoner of war through the Red Cross or other foundling hospital, such as a bank, a hospital, or an institutionalized state. Now, the evidence is all written. Everything is written. The Geneva Conventions and treaty after treaty after treaty after treaty, as they trick you out, and each bank agrees and enters into these trade agreements with each other to take territories, which is you and I. I was talking about that yesterday. When some of the agents were upon me last year, the FBI sent in, quote, Chief Phoenix to offer me that I could be adopted into the Cherokee Nation as an Indian. And I was like, oh, that sounds so pretty. Oh, my goodness. Well, then he says, well, you got to fill out these papers and register. And, of course, I already know that being adopted is the same as taking over any other territory. And I've already been an American, tricked out by the same mechanism. An American is a special thing. A black acre or a white acre, a fictional tract of land that has a patent on it. By calling myself an American years and years ago, I was allowing them to trick me out. I could call myself a female or a Dakota Indian or Lakota or Cherokee. All of these things, if I call myself those things, they own the title. I belong to them. That's all changed now. That's what our whole entire case was stemmed on, was patent law and piracy and the Judiciary Act enabling the United Nations, United States Incorporated, and every other Confederate actor to maintain genocide, kidnapping, and human trafficking against human beings. These things are sick and disgusting, and yes, they sound scary at first, but once you realize that they put you into fear, you're fearing your own death, you realize, why are you fearing? Because they want you to. Is it real? Absolutely not. How can you miss yourself before you're gone? That's insanity. Repeating things over and over and over again, expecting the same results. I'll go back into court again because, must have got a bad break. Might as well appeal. Right? Moving up and up and up, and 20 years later, you're broke and busted and you've lost everything, but you won every once in a while. You're still in appeals court. As they justify all of this behavior against you and upon you, unto you. It stems from untoward. They're against you, against your being, against humanity. It doesn't profit if it takes care of you. That's not good business. Sick.
Yeah, so when the mainstream media is talking about how, John Kerry's going out there to help the United States, they're not talking about helping you, the human being. They're talking about the United States Incorporated helping themselves to further offset congressional bankruptcy.
Absolutely. Look at his office. He is the clearinghouse. He's the one that clears the books. So of course he's going to be in Crimea. Of course he's going to be in the Ukraine. Right there, at ground zero. He's a clearinghouse. His function is to discharge congressional bankruptcy.
And it's all a big soap opera, Oh, Christie's good. No, Christie's bad. No, Christie's good.
They're going after its handlers now, which is a good thing.
They're all bad.
Absolutely.
They're all human trafficking. What is it that you patriots don't get? Or are you all just paid agents? Because we know that these patriot fronts are all created, perpetuated, and maintained by CIA. We've seen this shown in the documentation.
Absolutely, and evidence in our own walks. All of these agents, I walk around naive and for years and years and years and years, and I bump into these agents all the time, and it isn't until later, after I've been preyed on, that I realized they were just an agent. I'm like, oh man, I always feel so stupid. But Jesus said in 1 Corinthians 13, he says, just let it happen. You must endure all things, suffer all things, bear all things, hope.
I went to Before It's News last night, and it's all changed now to be a trending apparatus now to see what people are buying into.
Absolutely, and it's so sick to see what they're buying into. Oh, the new Barbie human doesn't eat. She says she doesn't need food or water. But she's so cute. She's had her body mangled to look like Barbie. But, that's what's entertaining the sheeple.
Yeah. Yeah, of course, they're pumping Alex Jones there. Loch Ness monsters, UFOs, it gets you into fear. Is the asteroid going to hit us? Well, that one today didn't hit us, I mean, people spend way too much time worrying about stuff that they have no control over, that they lose sight of trying to assert some control over things they do have control over, like being ruled by a bunch of oligarchical attorneys tricking you out as negotiable instruments. Okay, you can do something about that. You can divest title, revest in your own house. Takes $33 billion out of their coffers, so they got that much less to deal with. But after 2 years of this stuff, teaching this stuff, we have under 10 that even walked close enough to call themselves a sovereign state.
They want their toys.
They're all waiting around for the winter, too.
Absolutely.
That's what ticks me off.
Absolutely.
They don't care about the truth. They just want to know who wins.
Right. And not only that, they're saving themselves, like Jesus said not to in Matthew. You know, I don't want to lose my job. I don't want to lose everything I have because you're asking me to go protect children. I don't want to lose all my toys. I have to work 40, 60 hours a week because, you know, who's going to pay my boat payment and my condominium payment or my Maserati payment or my payment on whatever else? My new furniture. I don't want to.
What was that one student that came to you, you know, like 6 months back, a year back, I forget, whenever that was. Yeah, I'm losing my third condominium and, you know, I don't know what to do. Please help me, Tammy.
Absolutely. It just boggles my mind because there's so many people that are homeless, they're hungry, they freeze to death in the wintertime. These things can be they can be stopped immediately if people would stop and think about what they are protecting, what they are prioritizing over humanity. These things are just, it's absolutely deplorable, shameful, just like Jesus said.
Corporate welfare, that's what it's all about, because corporations gotta be kept safe, you know, and they're limited liability. Attorneys keeping them safe from prosecution, and yeah, you know, don't mention that restricted principle of sovereign immunity here, you know, around us, boy. We don't care about none of that.
Absolutely. Because locally they have everything in their pocket. On a higher level, Caesar doesn't have anything. Now let that sink in.
Yeah, and then think about that Bible verse about, you know, give unto Caesar what is Caesar's.
Right, and he said it so politely. Jesus said, render unto God what is God's and Caesar's what is Caesar's. And he said it so politely, but I'll say it in English, just plain English. Hand Caesar his ass. That's what Caesar gets.
Yep, go back. There's a video in the archives on your channel, and I think my channel as well, called The King's Bankruptcy. And in that, you see how Congress played the king and, you know, pretended to be bankrupt, and then proceeded to delegate itself as the trustee over the bankruptcy. And that's what your patriotism is being patriotic to. This all started back with the original Constitution. Okay? It wasn't a good thing. These wasn't good guys out there. All right? If they even existed, because the winners always rewrite history anyways.
Absolutely, and it's all the same business schematic. You can go all the way back to what they're writing is, you know, 400 and 500 BC. You've got the Julius Caesar's Senate, you know, Augustus Caesar's Senate Judiciary Council. You've got the same Senate judiciary here in this politics. It's just not called Caesar's. You also have the Athenian Constitution. Same thing as what you got handed. Same thing as the Israeli Constitution. Same thing as Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, India. All of these places that Congress has their hand in. This is what you consist of. This is what your Constitution is. This is what you consist of. Let me tell you what you are. Have I got something to sell you? And away we go. The same thing over and over and over again. You can follow the Athenian Constitution out to agrarian economics. Agrarian economics is environmentalism used to redistribute the corporation. So you can't tell me that there was a corporate structure, that there was not a corporate structure at that time, because that is the redistribution of corporations. The, quote, person that was maintained in the same 14th Amendment that would have occurred back at Nicaea, that would have occurred back in Athens. These things, history repeats itself over and over and over again. And you can go back to the Treaty of Westphalia. When Rome, quote, Germany, America got the reins in the 1600s. You go all the way back, and it's the same game, the same schematic. 1180, Gelnhausen Charter. 1180, the Dialogue of the Exchequer. 1100, separation of the spiritual and the temporal. Well, what's that? Okay, if I sell the female something and she buys it and then she sells it to the male, I take the whole family out. That's how I own the garden. I, Snake, will offer her first concepts. Beautiful, glorious things. Miraculous things. And all I have to do is sell them to the female under winning hearts and minds, because the female is impulsive. I'm impulsive. I am supposed to be a child. I am so pissed. I get comments after I do these shows and I try to tell people that I'm a child. When they talk to me about not being a child, I am supposed to be enjoying life. I get up in the morning and I walk about 30 feet to enter into my office space, and I'm there until I have to use the restroom or I need to get a cup of coffee. And then when I go to bed at night, I move that 30 feet back to bed. That's what we do every day, all day, every day, when I am supposed to be a child. My skin is freaking so pasty now. I haven't had any sunlight in forever.
Yeah, children are supposed to be children too, but they go to school and now they have to be taught sex education in kindergarten, okay? You know, and be taught how to be politically correct, you know, in first grade. You know, if you talk about guns, you're now expelled from school. Now you're a bad boy. You need a psych eval. Okay? They're just preying on you in the public school system. They're just, you know, nothing's gonna be like a quote unquote natural life on this planet until the attorneys are rid of this place.
Absolutely. I'm tired of being preyed on.
We need to rid this place of attorneys and the psychopaths.
I am so tired of being preyed on. I want to be living now. It's time to live. Everybody needs to join up and live. Stop patronizing. Stop thinking about it. Now, I'm stuck here because this is my function. Everybody else needs to stand. Just for a moment, it doesn't take that long. In unison, together, the United States of Being must stand. What other news have you come across this week that's just your type of news? Anything good?
Oh, jeez, I don't know. You know, I mean, it's all like Congress pointing the finger at Congress. You know, I mean, here's one here. The inverse of oversight. CIA spies on Congress. Well, CIA was created by Congress.
Absolutely.
So it's Congress, you know.
Playing the victim.
Yeah,
Congress is saying it's just like you citizens, and the CIA is messing with it. Go back to and actually read the 1947 National Security Act. Congress is the
especially
CIA
Section 302 and 303, if nothing else. Those are very short. You can read those, and just about tells you what you need to know.
And you need to. It's required reading. You know, here's Congress saying the CIA is spying on them. They're trying to assimilate themselves to humanity. They're trying to associate with humanity, or saying, oh, it happens to us too. That is absolute and utter BS. Congress created the CIA.
U.S. policy isolating Russia and expanding NATO is a dismal failure.
They're saying, oh, he's playing bad, he's playing bad. They're all the same thing. Go read the treaties that the United States Incorporated has with Russia, Crimea, the Ukraine, Israel, Greece, Australia, France, Spain, and all of these other entities, other banking incorporated states under the control of Congress. And you'll see what we're talking about. Don't take our word for it. Go look these things up. It's a requirement of your well-being to know who your enemy is, as well as knowing yourself and your authority. And why would any entity, anything, teach God that he wasn't? Exodus, outside of God.
And here's a question on, why is our government and deep state so incompetent? Well, they're not incompetent. They got your, consent to be a negotiable instrument, didn't they? They're doing quite well. They've got all this bankruptcy, but they're getting it paid for by you. So they're doing great. Crime does pay. So, especially if you're Congress. Until now. Things are going to start going bad for Congress. But first it's going to start with some of these. You're going to see cops are going to be thrown under the bus first.
Absolutely.
We don't want the cops, so we want the cops' handlers, which are the attorneys.
Yep.
And then, corporate. I got a few corporate counsel attorneys going down here. Not near enough, not fast enough, in my opinion. Of course, this is 1,000 years in the making for this game here, and we just started this new court of the Assizes. So,
a new session.
Huh?
A new session.
Yeah, a new session of the seizure.
So I wanted to update people too tonight. Today, I'm sorry I got on so pissy tonight. Elizabeth Bingham is being tortured in Washington State. And I'll read this real quick before we go any further. Jessica updates and says, this is Jessica Bingham, Elizabeth's daughter. She says, so not cool. I get here after going through hell, and for what? Nothing, not a dang thing, except being told I can't stay with my mom and to just drop her off and have a roommate take care of her. I replied and I said, I pray all is well. I need updates on when Elizabeth is going to be able to update and be amongst us. I've only been able to update as I read here for our listeners as to how she's doing. Now remember, this is Elizabeth of Miss Just Another Human Being on YouTube. So there is evidence that the roommate is an agent. I said the roommate does not want you there with her and Elizabeth. Is she preying on Elizabeth in some way, drugging or abusing her? And she does not want any witnesses to these things. And Jess says, my guess is yes. She just now said she was beat. I don't know what to do anymore. This is after finding out that her roommate stole money from her when she was in the hospital. Like, I'm worried for my mom, but she can't or won't realize this isn't the best living situation for her nor for my children now that we're up here from Arkansas. I said lots of water, try to detox her, see if it's a medication problem. Jess says they took her off most of her meds except for her blood pressure meds. and I repeated, I said, Jess, you know your mother. She's not complacent and tolerant of any abuses upon humankind. Something is impeding. Elizabeth would otherwise not back down or lie down in any way unless something was holding her down. I said, I miss her and I hope to see her soon. Jess says, I want to move her from here, but she is so adamant about staying, and her roommate has just told me again I can't stay here. Now, this roommate is really pushing hard to get Jessica out of the life of Elizabeth. Now, Elizabeth has everything documented on her YouTube channel from October of the medical industry preying on her. And this is all on her YouTube channel, Miss Just Another Human Being. And I urge everybody to go read, go listen to Elizabeth, go listen to what she has to say, go listen to what has happened because of the medical industry, because of what they can get away with. The family was separated, thousands of miles away. And I want to get it out there that Elizabeth is at this time still being preyed on. She was put into a coma through the medical industry, through medication use, prescription drug use. And we need to protect each other as much as we can and get this word out there. I don't want more evidence of genocide. We've already evidenced genocide up the wazoo. I don't want any more deaths. I don't want any more of these things to occur. And if you don't stand up, who is going to stand up? Who is going to protect you from a predator that you're patronizing? That's like asking the wolf to guard the hen house. What do you think, Bo? I miss Elizabeth. This is torture.
Yeah.
These things are just pure hell, and these sheeple are still sitting down.
Yeah, I mean, she's just not in the mainstream news because she's a economically disadvantaged, average woman. You only hear about the celebrities and Dancing with the Stars, and something goes bad, for these media presentators. These stories are just all too common and unheard because, they're just average day people. It's like, I was glad to see, though, that one story about the realtor being, lurking around, in the background, the way that story was written with that, that 47-year-old Australian lady who was
murdered by the realtor.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of stuff. I mean, that's what the evidence that they're even trying to show the sheeple in the news story.
Absolutely.
So the media is helping us a little bit, but people are still like, well, I guess she's dead now. There's nothing we can do. And the only reason this story ever came out is because it was somebody that was of, notoriety. But these kind of stories happen to everyday people all the time.
Every day. The court was about to auction off the house the very next day, and she happened to die.
Just coincidentally.
Coincidentally, yeah.
And of course, it was suicide.
Yep.
Just always. Like that 28-year-old woman for the Bitcoin.
Yeah, and the realtor's the one that found her. It's kind of like the prosecuting attorney out in California that was murdered by the judge. The judge happened to happen along and find her.
Yeah, just coincidentally.
I mean, these things are
like judges. They get out and they walk around and look for things like this,
And
or
realtors.
They walk their dogs or something like that and just happen to notice things.
Yep, absolutely.
When's the last time you saw a judge walking his dog?
Absolutely.
They don't have dogs because they don't have compassion for other beings.
Well, and you brought that up last night with a school official. I think it was a school nurse who the school called to check on her at her home, and the cops went out there and realized that she had driven her car and said that she had driven her car. Those things are setups, folks. That's posturing, and we'll see everybody on Saturday. Thank you for joining me, Bo. Be well.